Is anyone there yet? Hello? Oh, welcome to Shyzabox. Here's your host. Oh yeah! Ho 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 ho! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Whoa! Whoa, girl! Whoa ho 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 ho! And the horse you rode in on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to Shyzabox. We have got a fantastic show for you today, and by fantastic, of course, we mean free. You get what you pay for. So, without further ado, we were thinking to ourselves, and by thinking to ourselves, we mean we were enjoying our time off of not being at work, and all of a sudden, we'll reenact it for you as if management had called us and told us that, we got to do work. So we're sitting there, enjoying not working. It's like, hello? Yes, what do you want, management? And they're like, hey, you got to do a show. We're like, no, thank you. They're like, you better do it or you're fired. We're like, well, I guess that puts us in a bind contractually. So anyhow, don't sign stuff without a lawyer and before you read it. Bad idea. Needless to say, hold on, management's calling. What do you want? We're on time. We're doing the show just like you said. Well, people need to get the full story and really kind of know that we aren't here out of choice, and you kind of forced our hand with all that legal crap. Okay, well, shut up, we're doing the show. Anyhow, so we were thinking to ourselves, management's on our back about, doing our job. How can we get them off of it? Let's go ahead and do it. We're like, well, what do we usually talk about or do when no one's there to talk with us or do anything with us? It's like, well, we put on a movie, of course. So, lo and behold, there's the episode. We're talking about movies today. You might be saying, please don't. But we are anyway, because we can, pad out a good lengthy amount of stuff surrounded around discussing stuff with ourselves, which in essence is gonna be maybe what it ends up being. Oh, hello, hi! Holy cow! Oh, man, we thought we were gonna pad this episode with all of our own crap, but the more chitty chatties that people put in there and tell us of what to say and do, the more performance that there is. It might not be good, but, you're interacting with a crappy internet celebrity. The good ones are either asleep or they start later. Or if they're streaming now, send us that link, please, so that we can shut this shit down and, go watch that too. It's probably way better. But, anyhow, while we're here, and because management told us we have to, we're talking, yes, hello, hi. We're talking about movies, because we can pad out an entire episode all by ourselves, and we're good at that. So, movies versus time. Well, if you look at the description, we already put stuff in there, like length and actors and budget. There's 20 minutes worth of crap we could talk about right there, and that's just 3 of the 4. Not to mention the ones of highs coming in. Hello, hi. There's an extra 10 seconds of content right there. YouTube's money is as good as ours as soon as we reach that threshold of them giving it to us. That's the end game. We know you don't want to give us money. We don't want to do stuff to get it with hard work necessarily. So, this is extremely hard. So we just want YouTube to give it to us. So anyhow, we're talking movies. It's easy enough to pad out. There's all sorts of ways to approach it. And you might be saying, we wish you didn't approach it at all, but oh well. So, movies. Let's start with them versus time. Now, time, of course, can be pretty subjective or, determined to be a variety of aspects pertaining to a movie. Time as in, when does the movie take place in time? Time as in, how long of a length is the movie? Let's stop and see this ones of chat coming in, because we know that's what you want. Can anyone lend me money until Friday evening, finally on vacation but broke? Well, that sounds like you should probably not be asking in the crappiest internet chat place of the night. I mean, maybe it's the only local dive that's open right now, but man, if you're soliciting funds, you came to the wrong channel. Does it look like we got money to fucking lend you? Don't get me wrong. We wish we did. And the sooner YouTube makes us rich by making us a crappy internet celebrity, we could afford to shell out ones of dollars at a time. But unfortunately, you shouldn't have gone on vacation and blown all of your money. That was probably not a good idea. Now, we're not saying that we want to tell you how to live, but, you know, we've been out of money before. And you know what we don't do when we don't have any? Go on vacation. You know the last time we had a vacation was? What the fuck's a vacation? Hold on, management's calling us. What do you want? We're doing the show. We're interacting with ones of people. Uh-huh. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with movies, but it's kind of what they want right now. Okay, well, like you know how to run the place. They want us to stick with movies, but feel free to whatever. So good luck with that. We hope that, we wish you all the well. Maybe get a little side gig while you're down there if you're out of loot. Do you got a special skill? Set up a little panhandling thing. Get a, t-shirt, lay it down on the ground and, dance or do a trick. And, hope for the best. Maybe people will, be able to walk by and be like, oh, dude, that guy's really good at dancing or something, and they'll hook it up. Problem solved. Or, do you know how to juggle? We don't have anything to juggle right now. We actually can. Not well, but, do something like that. Earn a buck or two. Or see if there's a little, restaurant or dive bar that someone called out of work and they need someone to wash dishes for a minute. Ask them to pay you $20 cash under the table. I mean, just kidding, IRS. Of course you're going to fill out the W-2s and proper paperwork in order to make a living or get back to your home because you're on vacation and spent all your money. But speaking of vacations, let's speak about National Lampoon's Vacation, which is a movie. And we can approach this one as being a classic in a variety of ways. National Lampoon's, of course, is a worldwide namesake, and or amongst everyone that knows what it is, it's a namesake to them. So you have, of course, all of your old school, mainly Chevy Chase-led type films, and yes, other actresses and actors that were in a good variety of them as well. But, it's Chevy Chase. He was the main staple, the mainstay. Yes, you had the other family members, obviously, and, the brother and, sister-in-law and, nieces, nephews, yes. Entire ordeal centered around National Lampoon's. But time-wise, this thing took place in a variety of little eras, okay? This was before all of the technology upgrades and things of that nature. If you're on a cross-country vacation with your family, and hopefully you didn't, kind of go through and blow all your funds and such, prior to being able to complete the vacation, okay? There was a time and a place in movies where technology did not stay and play any sort of part in it at all, okay? If the technology had existed back in the day that National Lampoon's, Vacation or any of the vacation movies came out, it would be an entirely different movie. It would be an entirely different series. Perhaps National Lampoon's, as the entity that it was and is, or, became or started as, would have been an entirely different trajectory and way of it moving and going. All right? So if you look at the time and the era and everything like that, you have a variety of aspects of it, all pertaining to just one little series in movies. And you can look at the historical aspect of National Lampoon and its foundings and its, magazines and things like that, and its funding and its ups and downs. There's actually, believe it or not, documentaries that exist on it. You might be saying, well, share those documentaries with us. And we'd be saying, we can't remember what they're called, and that sounds like work, us trying to find you a link and post it. So, we're not getting paid for this necessarily, so find that yourself. But there exists documentaries and good talks surrounding National Lampoons. And we've checked a variety of things off the list of what movies can categorically fall under pertaining to aspects of time. Okay? The era that it was in, technology was not in existence. If you were going cross-country to go to Disney of the land, or in National Lampoon's case, Wall-E of the world, you wouldn't necessarily spend days upon days traveling cross-country in the car prior to pulling up the destination and or the app on your cellular device or phone, okay, and checking in with said destination, ensuring that they're, open. Because that's pretty key and pretty big for businesses and stuff. They need to be open. And if you're going on vacation to one of those places, probably a good idea to make sure that it's open as well. So, there's that. We've talked actors in it. We've talked the era that it's in. We've talked historical context pertaining to it. What other elements and aspect of time can be said about movies? Well, of course, let's keep diving into the National Lampoon's aspect, okay? And we haven't centered around necessarily just one particularly, okay? National Lampoon's in general, okay? The era. We don't need to hone and focus in on just one, okay? Because the era of the National Lampoon's movie, okay, say the Chevy Chase era and everything, not the external movies that weren't the vacations and things of that nature, okay, European Vacation, Christmas Vacation, okay, all of those ones. But National Lampoon's in general, that era with Chevy Chase, it surrounded and pertained to everything up to and including the, technology not existing that would have reshaped those entire movies or made them implausible from the get-go, would have, diluted the story, absolutely. There's things as far as movies and them standing the test of time, all right? And does National Lampoon's do that? Well, in many regards and ways, shapes, and forms, yes. But as technology keeps progressing, as movies keep developing, additional cinematographic, ways of doing things, different CGI effects take hold in place, AI now absolutely running the show of movies and things of that nature. There's so many aspects and elements, okay, that tie into what movies are becoming, that a lot of them are going to begin to fall by the wayside as far as being able to keep up with all of the elements and aspects surrounding time. So, let's insert movie A, B, or C here, and we'll just randomly come up with a movie off the top of our head if no ones of you feels like putting a certain movie in the chat, okay? But any movie, all right, you can comparatively talk about it standing or being in the test of time, and many elements and aspects surrounding it, enough to pad out an entire show on. So, we'll give you ones of more seconds to come up with a movie, otherwise we have one. We've already thought about it, we will go through the elements with it, but if you feel like interrupting the show and being the star, which, believe you me, you already are, we wouldn't be stars without nuns of you here. But that's just how it goes. But we see that none of you want to contribute to the conversation, mainly because none of you are here. So, we'll continue it ourselves. The movie Home Alone, all right? So many elements of Home Alone can be viewed in association with time and the different elements of time that you categorically break it down into, okay? Let's look at Home Alone as a whole. When Home Alone hit the market, it was received very, very well. Macaulay Culkin came out of the gates swinging. It kick-started that dude's career very, very well. It's unfortunate that there was a little bit of a breakdown in there and such like that, but that's probably another episode, and or dudes around doing all sorts of random stuff, man. Him and his brothers and stuff like that. You probably check it down, get it from the source themselves, man. Macaulay Culkin, the Culkins in general, man. Kieran and Culkin, all those dudes or whatever. Everything that we've seen, interview-wise, element-wise, and stuff like that, they've always been righteous dudes. So get it from the horse's mouth themselves. There's a whole backstory and everything like that involved in it. But the movie Home Alone can tie into and be talked about with so many elements of time. So let's talk about the era that it took place in, okay? We're talking about 90s, all right? Yes, there were security systems, okay, but you didn't have the surveillance cameras and things of that nature that were around, and the security systems that were in existence definitely would have been in the neighborhoods of the more well-off of people who were like, hey, don't steal our shit. It's like, do we really need security around here? Like, are you gonna still... Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. We're selling this for $13,000, so, I mean, it's inherently valuable to whoever's rich as hell to buy it. But, it's quality $1 clearance merchandise. So while we're asking $13,000 for it, okay, inherently, if someone breaks in and steals it, it's like, fuck, I guess we gotta make another one. Where are we gonna get another dollar clearance shirt? I mean, shirt that's worth $13,000. And the value inherently will be tied to, where it is. So there you go. But Home Alone, the aspect of it, the elements of it, when it, pertains to the time frame of it, the 90s, okay? Let's look at the technology additionally. There were no cell phones, okay? There was no FaceTimes. There was no things of that nature, all right? The response time, even on alarms, was negligible at best. It wasn't nearly as fine-tuned as it has grown to and become. So with movies like Home Alone, you have it tying perfectly into the appropriate era, the appropriate time frame with which it can take place and it can happen, all right? You cannot, to this day, be able to pull off a movie like Home Alone again and have it be as successful in the iteration that it is. All right, unless there's a complete and, utter resurgence of, early type tech that we all roll into because, some giant, cataclysmic, catastrophic thing takes out technology, right? And, we all start from the Stone Age, and all of a sudden it's like, damn, I guess we're back to stop-go animation, motion pictures, things of that nature, all black and white, no audio tracks, okay? If we revert and go back to then, well then, yeah, absolutely, you could do a story like Home Alone, right? But it would not be plausible. And plausibility affects movies, as far as time goes, to such a degree that it can take a movie that was inherently great in its past and turn it into a movie that is mediocre to crappy to actually very not good in the present, which is the future from when it was released. Okay? You have movies, Home Alone, that were plausible when they were written. Okay? Kid got left by happenstance. Yes, a lot of happenstance, a lot of perfect variables lined up. Duck, duck, goose counting on the heads while some kid's rifling through your shit in the car. All right? Not getting a visual look at, your kids, I guess, when you're departing the country. All right? There's a lot of elements that by happenstance correlated and worked out to where this dude got left at home. All right? With that being the case, there were no other cell phones. They didn't even, show the trying to make substantial, calls and stuff like that, minus payphones and things of that nature. All right? The immediate turnaround, the, requesting of a drive-by to the house and whatnot by the local precinct and police officers. Okay, the happenstance that there's not one iota of person in any way, shape, or form with which could have contacted this kid and touched base with them, all right? The movie happened in the perfect era that it could have happened in because Home Alone plausibly could not happen with the advent of cell phones, all right? With the additional technology that is around surveillance systems and things of that nature. all right, inherently, the movie would not be able to be in existence to this day if it were written today. If it wasn't filmed and made prior to the advent of the tech that is in existence, the movie would not have been relevant. It would not have made nearly as much and would not have been as successful. Surely, or surely not. I don't know. Maybe in an alternate reality. But that's just the era. What about the budget? How does the budget of Home Alone stack up to stuff today? Well, inherently, obviously, people always plug in the numbers. Inflation, this, different times that, the dollar worth this, there, all right? There's a lot of elements in math that could statistically be done to get the exact number. Now, did we do any of that work? No. Because that sounds like work, okay? You do it, yeah, and then tell us the number and we'll relay it. And we'll say, we didn't do this, so it's probably maybe right or wrong. And you'll have to stand by your own work. But if you track down that number and find out what Home Alone's budget was back in the day, how does that equate to budgets in existence today? Well, look at Home Alone's budget with inflation, which we're guessing is substantially lower than any of the top-tier Marvel movies that came out in the last 7 to 12 years. Okay? Home Alone inherently, even with everything that it had, the Joe Pesci, right? He's in there. Okay? The other actors that were actors, all right? But you took a movie and a concept and everything like that fit the era, fit the build, attached a budget to it that was reasonable to deliver a successful story. Okay? Hollywood seems to have lost track over time. Here's movies versus time for you. Hollywood seems to have lost track over time of how movies lined up and rolled out. It's like they think that the more they remake a movie, the more iterations of a movie that comes out, all of a sudden it's going to account for all of their financial burdens and problems, okay? If Hollywood had sunk themselves into a hole in one way, shape, or form, all right, and you can tell that obviously the money has not kept up with where it was when you have industries like the video game industry accounting for more financial revenue from what we heard. We haven't checked it or anything like that, but if the video game industry accounts for more revenue than Hollywood movies and the music industry combined, well, then Hollywood definitely isn't at the peak in their platform that they used to live on and be in. Okay? The new celebrities, the new high rollers on the block, they're the game developers, all right, that are in this other industries that kicking the shit out of Hollywood entertainment-wise. Okay? Video games have become now elements of playable movies in many regards. Some maybe a little too much to their detriment. All right? Others maybe not enough to their detriment. But it can be argued that the cinematics, the cutscenes, the occasional actors and actresses that do the voice lending or anything like that, at what point is a movie a movie? What if it's an animated movie? Is that a cartoon or is that a movie? If a celebrity does a voice acting job for a cartoon movie, or a celebrity does a voice acting job for a story in a cinematic cutscene of a video game, all right, well, there can be argued a very fine divide on what that content is. And when you have elements and aspects of the video game industry financially kicking the shit out of Hollywood and the music industry combined, while utilizing elements of it to set themselves apart as far as where people go for their entertainment, okay? People are looking to video games to fill that niche, to fill that void. Yes, a movie will come out and be successful, or a band or an artist or musician will release a song that is extremely successful, that does extremely well, all right? And the industry will reap the benefits and reap the rewards, okay? It's not like they're, playing with pennies, okay? That's places like this, all right? Hollywood has the inflated budget to be able to obviously fund and finance it in one way, shape, or form or another, okay, via selling off assets or whatever, or writing blank checks that they can't cash. But for Hollywood to continually think that they're going to fix the problem by re-releasing iterations of stuff, same thing with certain video game companies. If we remake this game again, it was really successful 3 remakes iterations ago. They think it's going to fill that niche, fill that void that people are longing for with which to spend the money. No, people spent the money on Schedule 1. You think they gave a shit about some of these remakes and remasters that came out? Absolutely not. They were playing what the conversation was centered around. It was centered around the games that were developed to take the place of the media and entertainment that movies have lost over time. What used to be the go-to medium for entertainment, even along the elements of television and cable TV, has drastically shifted over the years. As streaming platforms came out, as TV shows and movies became even more readily available on things like DVDs and Blu-rays and Laserdiscs, right? The fuck's a Laserdisc? Don't worry about it. There are movies on there, okay? The Laserdisc and all that shit, I mean, UMDs, there's movies on those things, okay? Digital movies, all right? The medium shifted so much from it being controlled and force-fed to the viewer that the viewer began to be able to pick what they wanted to be fed to them, and then inherently, advertisers force-fed them shit off that. So that's just, it came full circle, all right? But the medium changed so much for movies, games, things of that nature, all right, that it no longer is the status of what it used to be. It does not hold that position in society. No longer is it, the high rollers of a movie studio driving the only Ferraris around town. Absolutely not. You have the video game developers that are making games, all right, that are doing phenomenally well, that account for more financial gains than Hollywood music industry combined. So they're the ones driving the fancy cars around town now. If they have them. Probably not. They're probably all more down to earth and don't blow all their money on that stuff. So, it's like going on vacation and not having any money to go on vacation with. Probably not a good idea, okay? And we still feel for that dude. We hope that he finds a couple bones or whatever somewhere that gets him back home. Point is that over time, the entire medium shifted, okay? You look at things like Tiki-Taki now, all right? You look at other elements of videos and things of that nature where individual scenes, individual clips, individual little montages someone throws together inherently get more views and more clout and more resonance around it than entire movies that Hollywood puts out, entire albums that the music industry cranks out, and entire video games that even the game industry puts out that don't live up to expectations or don't meet hype. Or you can argue third-party studios here or there, maybe not meeting the criteria of being in the green necessarily every quarter. You have elements and aspects that have shifted gears over time so much in all of these avenues of entertainment and media that it has now become just an inherently different beast, as it still morphs and becomes what it is today. Like we said, you look at Tiki-Taki, and we don't have it. We probably should. I mean, no one will watch us there either, so it doesn't matter, so I guess we shouldn't. But, if we did, it probably wouldn't be as bad as we probably think it would be. I don't know, maybe one day. The point is that if someone on Tiki-Taki can single-handedly in their mom's basement Okay? Make a video that does better than an entire movie that Hollywood cranks out at a budget of $0, just their free time that they used making it. And Hollywood thinks that the answer is remaking movie after movie, throwing more and more money at a budget or marketing. It's not organic. It's the storylines that sell, and it's the elements of stories that bring individuals to want to check them out. Okay? You tie that in with how media works nowadays and how the inter of the net zones is used for communicating and things of that nature. You look at the IMDb hoopla doopla and the rotten of the tomatoes that people use. Okay? What's the first thing that people usually do with even video games? See its active user current player base, all right? Before they feel like they can talk about it in general or as a whole, all right? Over time, the media shifted. Over time, it can be argued elements of games have become movies. Over time, Hollywood has lost direction as what makes a viable, entertaining movie or TV show even. Over time, cable TV has been replaced by streaming services and apparatuses that are out there. Hello, hello, yes. Yuka, yes, that's us. We think, I don't know, but what we do know is we're talking movies, so we hope you're doing all right tonight, as, we are, so we hope you are too. We've been talking movies, not well. We've been talking elements and aspects of entertainment media that users have turned to now for plugging those voids in their life of entertainment. You have now, arguably, elements of video games and things of that are the new movies, okay, that are the new stories, that get conversations centered around them on the inter of the net and the inter of the zones on how it is shaped and become the beast that it is. What gang are we in? We're not in any gangs. We wish we had that many friends that we could be in a gang. Isn't a gang at least 3 or more people? We're just one. No gang here, unfortunately. We're in the gang of having fun. We hope you want to be too. The Buttercream Gang. Have you ever heard of it? It's a movie. And this episode's about movies. So if there's one gang we would want to be in, it's the Buttercream Gang. You should check it out. They do good stuff. They pick up litter and trash and stuff like that. You know, it's really fantastic to see people clean up the environment. We've considered doing it once or twice ourselves. So yes, and hello, you're back. Yes, excellent. Rick has made it in. We were wondering if you were going to show up, and then we were like, probably, and look, you did. So excellent. Why are there bodies behind you? Bodies? That's a body part. Yeah, I mean, good luck arguing bodies in a court of law. That's just one extremity. It's not even a whole one. So, you know, don't worry about it. Anyhow, what else we got? Do-rag? No, we're not wearing a do-rag. That is a sweatband. We might pick up a game of pickleball later. You never know with us crazy boomers. So, nope, just a sweatband to soak up all the sweat from being a sweaty old-ass boomer. Yeah, that's it. But anyhow, are you doing poetry? Well, you know, Rick, we weren't going to do poetry, but we thought to ourselves, if Rick shows up, we're doing whatever the hell he wants. So, Rick, you want poetry? We're doing poetry. What, you know, in fact, no one watches movies anymore anyway, really. So, yeah, this is now the poetry show, but again, we're not going to go back and change the thumbnail or anything like that, because that's work. But yes, Rick, we are doing poetry. Sorry, we actually have a poem that we wrote a long time ago about movies. It actually is on our thumb drum, so, you're welcome. Movies sometimes are good. Movies, when they suck, are bad. Excellent, yes. So, like we said, that was one that we wrote a long time ago. We think it was around the time that a movie came out that we thought was okay, and it fell somewhere in between or in the middle. So, excellent. But yes, if you have any additional movies or things like that you would like us to talk about in reference to how time has affected it, then we will do our best to cover that information. But if you want poetry, life is poetry and we turn on a dime. We can do poetry for you anytime. So you just let us have it. A topic it be, and we will give poetry from us to thee. You said you were doing movies. Did you mean like you were rating them? Well, we can rate them if you want us to, but really the movies that we are doing, we're referencing them in accordance to time. So, movies can be affected over time in a variety of ways, or you can look at time and break it down in a substantial amount of ways. The length of time, the era that the movie was filmed in time-wise, the 1900s, the medieval time frame, the future time frame, okay? The budget of movies over time, all right? The marketing that's been spent on movies over time, the actors in movies over time, okay? There's so many elements of time that can pertain to movies. We can pad out an entire episode about it, and lo and behold, that was what this one was about. But yeah, poetry sounds way better, so that's what we were doing. Why is Diddy getting released? Well, if there's one channel to come to probably not get the answer to that, oh man, is it this one? We're talking movies tonight. Was Diddy in any movies that you know about? Or did he make any movies anyone knows about? Okay, hold on. We haven't seen or know if these movies that people have talked about exist. Okay, so that's, are you trying to get us in trouble? I don't think that's on Derek Chauvin, UFC welterweight champ. I don't know. We don't follow the UFC. We hear that people enjoy it, and from what we understand, there's some really good violent individuals in there that could kick the ever-living crap out of us. So, we tend to be scared of it. It looks dangerous. I think people get hurt in that game. UFC. You won't UFC me there. Especially if it costs money to go. You'll see us there, though. People give us free tickets. Fuck yeah. No, get in the ring. Hell no. We'd get hurt. If I was making a show, I'd cast you for sure. Well, we come cheap. And by cheap, we're super expensive. So, we do thank you. And yes, absolutely cast us. And we might even show up and do what you want us to. And you'd be like, man, that dude's always late. And we wouldn't be. We'd be on time, probably. And we might even, do good work. Or do work. So excellent. But yes, thoughts on Star Wars Rogue One. Excellent choice of a flick to talk about. Perfect. And Rick, that's why we don't even like starting the show before you're here. Because you are the show, Rick. You are the show. And in this case, now the show's going to be Star Wars Rogue One. Let's talk Star Wars Rogue One. After we take that sip of water. Oh, we should have told you that first. Star Wars Rogue One, inherently, we loved that movie. Okay? We loved that movie. It's not our most favorite movie. But where it ranks in the Star Wars universe is substantially higher for us than it might very well be for other people. Holy shit, what an ending to a movie. What a, brilliant way that the plans to the Death Star got. Oh, have everyone seen this? Spoiler alert. This movie came out a long-ass time ago, so you should have seen it by now. When they stole the plans to the Death Star, and who cares? Star Wars sucks mostly now anyway. No one cares. Go back and just strictly watch the other ones. Rogue One was phenomenal. We enjoyed it. We can approach it a variety of ways. Over time, Star Wars has gotten worse in a lot of regards after Rogue One. The budget for Rogue One probably wasn't as big as it should have been. The story for Rogue One over time and the era fit in beautifully in the universe as far as linking elements and aspects of a story arc and a storyline for showing how just a small fraction and a small element of an entire universe was chaotically formed around it. Rogue One did for the Star Wars universe what every single Star Wars movie after it and TV show should have done. That Star Wars Obi-Wan show, we watched like an episode of that. Bleh! We didn't like it. That one where that lady cut that spaceship in space with her lightsaber. Bleh! What the hell was that? If we see a Jedi doing flips in space with a lightsaber, cutting off a fucking spaceship wing, come on, man. It wasn't our favorite. But you know what we did enjoy? Rogue One, because it was realistic, it was heroic, it introduced elements to a minor tie-in to the overall grandiose good part of Star Wars universe. Star Wars doesn't suck. That universe is fantastic. You know what sucks about Star Wars? All that shit that was pointed out in that cartoonic show that pointed it out that pissed off Kathleen Kennedy and all those dudes at Disney or something. Presumably, I don't know. The show we're talking about, South Park, and it was like a mini movie that they did. The Disney Wars, the Streaming Wars. I don't know. That wasn't it. It was the other one or something. Who cares? It doesn't matter. We're missing ones of comments. Let's calm it down. Let's slow it down. We get passionate about Rogue One, Rick, and we think you knew that. We think you wanted to stir the pot a little bit and get us a little fired up. But sometimes that's what this industry needs. It needs to be shaken to its core. By crap. Anyhow, I want your 3 favorite Star Wars movies. Oh, man. Well, Rick, you can't have them because they're all on a movie box set disc. So, I mean, if we gave you our favorites, we would have to give you, like, our whole box set, and it has the ones that aren't our favorites on it. So, that wouldn't be fair to us, Rick. You'd be taking, like, probably 2 additional movies. So, instead of our top 3, you'd be taking, like, 5 movies. And, you know, Rick, we'd have to be compensated for that one. But, if you want to know what movies we like, shh, don't tell anyone. Shh. Star Wars Episode 1 is one of our favorites with Darth Maul. He gets cut in half. Shh, don't tell anyone. A lot of people don't like that one. Say Star Wars movies, Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah. Man, so there's, what about like, man, we even grew up with like elements of like Voyage of the Dawn Trader and stuff like that. Or hold on, that could be entirely wrong title. But man, you have all of those old school like Ewok movies and stuff like that. Star Cruiser Crash. All those movies were fantastic. But man, yeah, definitely some of the more favorites. Episode 1 was definitely one of them. Yeah, Revenge of the, Sith was fantastic as well. Really, man, the, elements and aspects of Star Wars that came out, you could argue that, what was it, movies 4, 5, and 6, right? A New Hope, Star Wars, and, Return of the Jedi, all those ones, man, the 3 that came out first. You could argue that elements and aspects of those, time-wise, didn't correlate and line up with our childhood, so they don't resonate as well. And even though we were, very much so, according to the state at the time, legally adults, when they rebooted the Star Wars series and franchise, it was such a awe-inspiring, massive, everyone before us had talked about Star Wars on the big screen, and the original movies, and you gotta see in theaters, and this, that, the other. And there were many elements and aspects of it that, definitely held true and resonated with older audiences and generations that had seen the originals. All right? Most of those individuals aren't the ones that care for the newer trilogy that had come out subsequently, the prefix trilogy, the episode 1, 2, 3, okay? But individuals like us, yeah, we dare say that, yeah, definitely Revenge of the Sith is up there and such. But, yeah, I don't know if we necessarily have a top ranking. We dug Rogue One. We even dug, man, we think that Han Solo movie got a little bit of a bad, kick to it and stuff like that. It just sucks that they told a story that was verbally such a hard-hitting element and aspect of stuff, but they told it after it should have been told. They should have made that movie well before. Well before. And we enjoyed it. But that's how it goes. Let's try and keep up with these ones of comments coming in. When I said I want your three... Oh, yes, no, we know. We were joking, yes, about the three favorites. Yes, Rick, we were teasing you. I'm sorry, that's our bad. You know... What can you say? Boomers like us, we got teased. And it's only fair for us to pass it down to the rest of society. So, unfortunately, Rick, it fell on your shoulders today. We knew that you wanted our top 3 Star Wars movies. We were joking about them all being on the box set. The only ones on the box set are the trilogy ones. And then we have the other ones individually. Except we don't own Rogue One in any aspect, and any other newer stuff. We got the second, trilogy and the first trilogy. That's pretty much it. He was in the movie Hot Fuzz. Are you trying to get it? Derek Chauvin was in Hot Fuzz? For some reason, we're gonna say with as much elements of... Let's see, how can we put this? With as many elements of Hot Fuzz that we are aware of, and as many politic that we don't do, and that this channel is not about, for some reason that name doesn't resonate as one of the actors in that movie. Now, yes, we are old boomers, and we don't necessarily have a fact checker here like the Tim of the Pool has. He has one, right? Or the Joe of the Rogan, they got people on those good shows, right? We don't have one of those, but for some reason, are you teasing us, jockey? Jokey? Whichever one it is, we can't read either, so sorry for mispronouncing it if we do. Rick, I'm going to have to go. Great rest of your stream. Oh, thanks, Rick. We'll see you later. Sorry for teasing you earlier. We'll catch you next time. Or not. We understand if you don't want to come back. But we know that, Rick... The show's not the show without you, so we hope to see you again as well. Anyhow, let's get back to movies. Chicken Jockey. All right, there's one. Jokey. That's an excellent one. Jokey, this show is now pretty much nothing without you. So, you want Chicken Jockey, we'll give you Chicken Jockey. We wrote a song that is to, pretty much in direct competition with Chicken Jockey the Hot Steve Lava Chicken song from that one artist a few people have heard of. You probably haven't. Jack Black, he was in some movies and that one band, Tenacious D, stuff like that. We wrote a song to kind of go against, his Chicken Steve's Lava Love Shack song where he, we think has sex with a bucket of chicken or something. But whatever he does in his song, we tried to really portray other elements and aspects of the musical apparatus that can center around it. Before I go, I'm still waiting for that poetry on a banana. Oh, sorry about that, Rick. Well, absolutely. This one's actually done in simple rhythmic time. So hold on, Rick. Don't go yet. Oh, man. Yeah, sorry. Our bad, Rick. We weren't ready for the poetry session. But the maracas aren't on hand. So yeah, this poem about bananas is rhythmically centered on the symbol. Banana, yellow. Bananas, they're brown. They're rotten. Make banana bread. Excellent. So yes, Rick, that one was called Banana Bread. And it's centered around bananas going from being yellow, turning brown, and then getting kind of rotten. So, we hope that lives up to your poetry expectations that you had on your banana poem of the day. But, remember, we do have a lot of them that we have pre-written and actually know. But, some of them, if you ask us to ever tell you again, we feel that, and we got them recorded, written down lots of places because we, of course, wrote them a long time ago when we were a young teenager in love. We sat and wrote all of them. We were in love with writing poetry, so that's why. Oh, I thought it was a person. We wished it was a person, but we just loved writing poetry, so we obviously wrote a lot of it. And we'll never recite that one again because you might say, no, it's because you just made that shit up off the top of your head. No, it's because banana bread holds a place in our heart, and when we eat it, our belly. And it just makes us kind of hungry every time we recite it. So we don't have any rotten bananas. We're not going to wake our mom up. Well, she's at her second job now. We're not going to tell her to take off the rest of her second job to come home and make banana bread, especially when we don't have bananas. We won't get our allowance if she doesn't earn it. So we got to keep her busy. Anyhow, genealogy. Well, we like the movie Aladdin. That's probably one of our, more favorites. We also like kind of the, old school Alibaba and the 30 Thieves, but if we're being honest, Kazam is amazing. So when we're talking about genies and genealogy and stuff like that, that's definitely movie-wise where we go right to. Now, if you want reference on genealogy as far as, movies go, well, then there's no genie that we prefer more than I Dream of Jeannie. Are we right? Absolutely. Because there's probably not that many other TV shows about genealogy out there. You might be saying, no, that's the wrong genealogy, dumbass. And we'd be saying, oh, well, we're an amalgamation of crap, just like a lot of other individuals. So, we hail from, what is it? East Mediterranean, Pacific, Indochina. And all over. Oh, we's American. Whatever that entails. America starts with an M. That's just what we is. So that's the genealogy aspect of it. But we would like to segue and talk about Aladdin for a minute, because there's a couple elements that you can go with Aladdin as far as movies. Are you talking the Disney cartoon? Are you talking the Disney live action? Are you talking the character in one of those old-ass versions where they act all ridiculous with those giant saber swords and the, kind of Alibaba and the 40 Thieves element and tie-in and stuff like that? That's communist. What's communist, huh? Dog pink. Start, huh? What? Huh? Does that shirt mean you like chicken? Chicken oh, we love chicken nuggets. Are you talking about Joey's milk? Oh, that's a warning for everyone in the world. We don't just have it on the one for sale. We represent and reap what we sow. It is a warning because Joey is disgusting. Ugh. And you want to avoid Joey's milk at all cost. If there's one thing we would love to drill into the entire world from this channel, it's that you want nothing to do with Joey. You don't like communists? Joey's communist. Ugh. You don't like broccoli? Joey loves it. You do like broccoli? He spits on it. You might be saying, well, that's two different things. What if I like broccoli and someone that I know doesn't? Where does Joey stand on that? Joey stands in the disgustingness of disgusting. So, anyhow, as far as movies go, there's all sorts of elements of communist-type movies we could talk about. We could talk about Red Dawn. Those are some fantastic movies, and you get us going on. Patrick Swayze, Oh, live stream, sorry, can't edit that out. You get us going on Patrick Swayze, and believe you me, we could talk about him for a minute. Anyhow, excellent. Chicken means you should spray paint 88 on your wall. 88 Fingers Louie? Well, metal up your ass. Yeah, so if you want to talk about 88 Fingers Louie, that's an entire band that we could talk about for a minute. Absolutely. So, 88 Fingers Louie, when they first came out, we were thinking to ourselves, like, this isn't one of our favorite bands, but there are so many aspects and elements of their musical discography that we fell in love with out the gates. And whilst we never collected their entire discography, 88 Fingers Louie is a fantastic musical, group that we definitely enjoyed listening to. And thank you for bringing that up, because we should go back and listen to some more of their catalog. Maybe they're still around making music. Maybe they totally suck now. Maybe their stuff we heard before totally sucks and we just remember it being okay. But yeah, good call. So yeah, good looking out. Anyhow, yeah, well, back to the chicken. Yeah, so there you go. Let's continue talking elements of how movies can be tied in to time. All right, we've talked Home Alone. We've talked Joey, unfortunately. That was a horrible part. Let's try and not relive that. We've talked National Lampoons. Let's talk Goonies, okay? Goonies never say die. And they also say that that movie stands up to the test of time. Now you might be saying, who's they? Well, they is us. It's fantastic. We love that movie. So there you go. Anyhow, I thought this was the movie's only shake my head. Well, Goonies is a movie, and that's what we're talking about. But we pivot on a dime. And like when Rick was here, you might remember that from minutes ago, Rick wanted poetry, so we gave him poetry. Sometimes there's elements and aspects of movies that kind of work its way into your life, to where your life becomes a movie. So, if you want to talk about elements and aspects of movies, if we categorize life as a movie, then everything that we do, down to those little poems and, iterations and side-stepped journeys that we take that don't necessarily pertain verbalized-wise to every aspect of a discussion centered around movies and time, okay? Elements and aspects of it, tie into it, especially if we say life's a movie. Then we can talk about whatever the hell we want, and, it doesn't even matter. We talk about going to McDonald's, and it fits into the episode. We went to McDonald's once. We were like, hey, can we get a milkshake? And they're like, the machine's down, sir. You were supposed to fix it yesterday. When are you coming back to work? We're like, fuck! I forgot we worked here. I shouldn't have come in after I called out looking for a milkshake. You know why we called out in the first place? Because they wanted us to fix the machine. Jeez, that'd be working backwards. Turns out we couldn't get our milkshake from there. So see, that's life. Life is a movie. So you might be saying, there's no way that story's true. And we'd be saying, well, you're right. Anyhow, what else? Have you read that It book? You mean from Stephen King? It? We haven't read that book. That has words in it. We stopped reading books pretty much after they stopped making us in college. So, don't get me wrong. We do some reading, and elements and aspects of reading, and reading is very important. But there's a certain kind of reading that we like to do, and reading horror books or, even aspects and elements of books that aren't necessarily historical in context, not really our bag, baby. So we don't really dive into much of those. So as far as It from Stephen King, we have read 0 of Stephen King's books, but we've seen a lot of his movies. So if you want to talk about It, the movie, we can talk about aspects and elements of the first It iteration that came out, and Hollywood's bitch ass making a second iteration because those unoriginal fucks couldn't think of another storyline, and it's like Stephen King hadn't written a million other stories they could have just turned into a movie from one of his many books. Now let's re-release It. So that's what they did. They're like, well, let's throw some money at it. And we all saw it like a bunch of suckers. So, anyhow, we could talk about the first It, the second It, movie-wise, but we couldn't correlate and necessarily equate to how good they are compared to the book. Same thing with Harry of the Potters, and you might be saying, well, that's an easy book to read. That's a kid's book. How many pages is it? I don't care, it's a kid's book. That seems pretty long. Those motherfuckers look thick. That would take us a while to read. And you know what we don't want to do for a while? You guessed it. Did you guess it? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But if we were to be like, we're going to read Harry Potter books, it's like we've already seen the movies. So we would be spoiled already. We'd be like, Dumbledore dies, be on like the first one. Maybe Chamber of Secrets. Be like, psh. Hermione turns to stone. Well, that happens in that one, so it doesn't matter. But the point is that, yeah, there's many, different aspects of book tie-ins that have been turned into movies, vice versa, back into books. And with it, we couldn't talk about the book iteration, but we could talk about the movies. So, that's what we pretty much did. We'll consider that an answered comment and or question. Fantastic. We're doing great. We're answering all ones of these comments coming in. It's, I think we're going to give ourselves a raise. Hold on. Let's call management. Hey, we're giving ourselves a raise. What do you mean there's nothing in the budget? No. No, don't worry about that money I owe you. Fuck. Turns out we're not getting a raise this year, but, that's how it goes sometimes. Speak on the Mike Pence's fighting abilities and manliness? Well, you want to speak on Mike Pence's fighting abilities and manliness? There was, this is not a political channel, but there is one political video that this channel has done. One. And you must be a longtime fan. Is that you, Mom? No. We did one video on Mike of the Pence. We went back, we wrote a comment on it, well after. But we did one video on Mike of the Pence because this dude, at some aspect in his career and life, seemed like he bridged a gap between different thoughts and party affiliations and things of that nature, all right, that we gave him a very, very huge nod of saying that he could potentially have gone down as one of the bestest, most manliest vice presidents in history. However, we went back, we commented on that one political video this channel's done, because it turns out that he might not be that manly after all and stuff like that. Which, what is manliness, really? It doesn't matter. He can be as manly or not manly as he wants. But what he can't be is a bitch. And, well, believe you me, we hope he's not being one, because that would be not good. But we're not a political channel, so we have no comments on his fighting ability. We've never fought the dude. We would prefer not to fight anyone. Fighting's not good. So much more can be solved with talking things out. Maybe a nice handshake or a hug. Sometimes that's just what people need. Fighting's kind of ridiculous. If we were to look back at the random spit spats that we may or may not have been privy to know about or be involved in. This is before cell phones, motherfuckers. Sometimes it's good being a boomer. Don't got me on film. Or you do. Now, everyone does apology videos. We just expect to do on everything. In fact, sorry for last stream. That shit was horrible. There you go. We'll apologize for this one tomorrow. Or the next time we do it. Whenever. The point is that... Are you an illegal alien from Ireland with that hat? Well, hi, laddie, wouldn't you like to know? No, I don't think so. No. This is just a green hat. You must not have seen our early iteration of shows, okay? Management made us change it because Rock's been doing his studio and shit like that. Management made us change it. So our original show that we signed up to do with the channel was an Xbox show. Well, we're all things Xbox. So is Xbox green off of that. Now, yes, it's completely Irish-like in nature, but it was supposed to be around and centered kind of pertaining to Xbox, because we're all things Xbox. But now everything's an Xbox, so hell, even this show's an Xbox. Yeah, everything is. This empty water bottle almost is an Xbox. Because you can play games with it. How many times can you do this? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh! Apparently just 19. But that's an Xbox. Like Trump and Thiel. Is that a F? I don't know. But like we said, is it coincidence? It's Pence, Vance, and it's both 5 letters. Well, probably not as big of coincidence as you would think. Whilst there might be a lot of similarities and stuff, the mere aspect of a 5-lettering last name probably isn't all too relevant. But, who knows? We got no idea. Like we said, not a political channel, so... if there's one thing that we would have no comment on, it's that. But if they made a movie talking about the conspiracy aspect of potentially a 5-letter name, or if these people are, what, you want us to talk conspiracy theories? There's so many better channels out there that do it so much better. But yeah, we love conspiracy theories. We love hearing about them. Just because we hear about them, maybe look into them, doesn't mean we necessarily believe them. They're entertaining. Oh, we love a good conspiracy theory. If you have one surrounding to and or pertaining to the Mike Pence 5-letter last name and the J.D. Vance 5-letter last name, well, we'd love to hear it. But as far as us knowing of one, we know not. But, that's just how it goes. More fun on lives than any game for many, many years. Yeah, so absolutely, there's nothing like interacting with, a celebrity. And, yes, we know we're the shitty internet celebrity and the worst one out there. But we claim that base title. We claim the ground floor level, okay? Everything else guaranteed to be better. But we still get that moniker and get to call ourselves a celebrity, okay? We might not be a good one, but we call dibs. So we're the worst one. Whatever the ground floor is, that's us. Everything else, better. Us, down at the ground floor. So, we're celebrities. And it's way more fun to interact with celebrities, even shitty ones, than a lot of games that have come out. There's some really bad entertainment out there. Why would you pay to go see a movie that's not good when you could not go pay money to see a movie that's not good and just kick it with some folks or something, right? Or wreak some havoc, cause some chaos, sow some discord. Chase those Irish immigrants off of the live streams at night. Oh, laddie, you're gonna find out where we are. Uh-oh, hush. We joke, we kid. But yes, live streams can be extremely fun. Mainly when they're good, so sorry. But believe you me, there's going to be more good ones out there. All the, good celebrities, they're on hiatus break right now, most likely. But they'll be back. They'll be back because they need their cheese. So, there you go. It's like a radio show for Zoomers. I want to hear politics. Thoughts on the dancing Israelis during 9011. Well, if by 911 you're not referring to a phone call service, hey, management, I don't know what you want us to do. These guys are wanting politics, and we're thinking that we should give it to them. But, we'll have to keep it very generalized because, if there's one thing we are not, it is an expert pundit. There are so many better ones out there, but, why the fuck are we telling you? Fucking management, they act like they know how to run the place. All right. Well, so you want our take on a very controversial element and aspect of stuff that has been portrayed and painted in a variety of iterations. So, from what we understand, there were some individuals who were not upset at events that transpired or occurred that may or may not have happened in a way, shape, or form that was conveyed to have happened in a way, shape, or form it was conveyed to have happened in. If we look back on our college days, we actually did a little bit of a dive. We were actually in college when 9/11 happened. Classes went on like normal. They didn't give a fuck. Like, where we were, other places did. But, they didn't even know what the hell was going on, really. It was crazy times. So, classes went on as normal. Businesses stayed open. Everything did not get shaken up nearly as much as it did regionally. You were in the Northeast, you got that shaken to the core. Horrible, horrible shit that happened. And regardless of how it happened, the fact that something like that were to have happened is immensely saddening and a very extremely horrible event that transpired. Wow, so that video was you. I don't know what you're talking about, but we can continue on the other one. Needless to say, there was some individuals that were portrayed being not necessarily unhappy with the events that transpired on that day. And from what we understand, a car full of those individuals were arrested as they were in a commuting to another destination of residency, another destination of living at or being at. So, we don't know the individuals. We never talked to the individual that filmed the video or made the phone call. We never talked to the individuals that arrested the individuals and interviewed them upon their arrest or anything like that. We have not seen the closed circuit footage from the individuals being detained and or interrogated or any element or aspect of that. With that being said, anything that we would point out would be merely conjecture and wouldn't add to the conversation that's already in existence that 9/11 happened. Some folks were dancing around that obviously were not upset that it happened. A call was placed to 911 or to the police or to whatever, from what we understand, and individuals got arrested. Now, where it went from there or goes from there, we know not. And, like we said, we never did a further deep dive on anything past college, the initial aspects of it, like the other building that was pulled, the PBS interview where they mentioned things like that. There's a lot of wonky stuff out there. Like we said, we love some conspiracy theories, so lay them on us. Just because we talk about it does not mean it is true or correct or that we believe it. It doesn't mean that it's not true, it's not correct, or that we don't believe it. But a lot of it is just conjecture. So, without there being a viable place for a conversation to be had on elements and aspects of that, we could kick the shit all day around here and talk about this, that, and the other, but inherently, it doesn't structure anything credible to the argument at hand, and with us not pulling up things like fact-checking ourselves as we talk and relay just our first-hand learned life experiences and things of that nature, there's elements and aspects that, just don't necessarily contribute to a good conversation to be had, especially with us on that. But if there's elements or aspects that, can rear their head like that, if you want to talk about the movies that Alex Jones put out, the documentaries that exist and things of that nature, well then there's definitely tie-ins that cover all aspects of that. And over time, as far as movies and time, here's the tie-in. It all ties in. Life's a movie. All of those, if anything, have gained substantially more traction over the years, okay? Before, you would hear 9/11's a conspiracy. It's like, nut jobs. Now, if someone says 9/11's a conspiracy, then it's a conspiracy. Might not be true. Might not be true. But it's made its way out of the realms of being talked about as those guys are nut jobs to the videos exist from what we understand, phone calls were placed from what we understand, people were arrested from what we understand. There's elements like a PBS interview with a up there individual as far as renowned status that knows his shit that talked about pulling buildings. We know there's elements of footage that seems to be a little wonky. We know there's elements and aspects of things that happened at the Pentagon that looked a little wonky as far as the debris or the lack thereof or whatever. Okay? There's all sorts of elements and aspects to it, but, again, we can only comb over what inherently should be a giant topic. You want to talk about other aspects of the conspiracy too, was it not? George Bush, the younger one that was president's one brother that was not like the head of security up until the day before. Did someone not pull out, huge, massive insurance, paybacks thing that covered terrorism and things of that nature? Well, from what we remember, we think there was, but again, not our realm, not our bag, baby. So we can talk about aspects of the movies and we can talk about elements and comb over aspects, but there are very valid places that these conversations should be had and individuals they should be had with. Such as if we were going to talk religion, we would want someone like that Wes Huff dude there. That dude knows his religion. If we were going to talk something along these lines, we could surely inject our crap on a panel, but without having those swaying individuals that hold and harbor the conversations that are talked about the next day at the water cooler. People aren't going to go to work tomorrow and be like, Shyzabox was on last night, and that dumb bastard was saying this, that, and the other about this, that, and the other, okay? They're like, again? Like, yeah, man, someone needs to cancel that show. Okay? The point is that when Joe Rogan has an individual on, that is talked about. That does get the views and things like that. That's that. We're the base tier shitty celebrity, so we can comb it over, but the conversations of that are held in the arenas of spectacular fact-checking and a feeling and a sentiment over politics that right now are so divisive in this country, America, that we inherently believe it is the uniparty system, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't seem to be good or good. So, that's just how it goes. Reckon, but obviously that's not how it should go. Get involved locally. We're huge on knowing your neighbors and getting along with them. At least we like to. There's a difference between us regionally not being affected by a massive event that tore lives apart, that shattered individuals, entire existence, okay? That catastrophically were just affected in ways that we could never fathom, guess, convey, or even attempt to understand. And it wouldn't be right for us to hold the conversation without those bigger entities being able to give credence to those voices that have an element of that story to talk about that we couldn't express or talk about. We lived through the event. We know what happened regionally around where we were. We think we lived in South Georgia at the time. All right? Yeah, we're going to college, okay? And like we said, life went on. Stuff didn't stop. Businesses were open. We still had to go to work. Why the fuck did we have to go to work? That was dumb. Anyhow, whatever. Point is that, yeah, crazy times. So there's realms to have those conversations in, and we can gloss over some stuff and, lend a, we wouldn't even say our 2 cents. Since they're getting rid of pennies, we'll lend 1 cent, to it. But yeah, we're not a political channel. We are, if you would like to know, we can talk our politic. We are registered libertarians. We have been since college. Now, we are huge believers that there's a uniparty system going on, and people are a little too friendly with people that they shouldn't be friendly with, in realms that don't seem that they benefit the people they should be benefiting, constituents or the general populace, in many realms, ways, shapes, and forms. So everyone has their own politics that they can argue here or there. Okay, maybe this needs to be improved on, that needs to be improved on, this needs to be taken away, that needs to be taken away, this needs to be given back, that needs to be not given back. I don't know, whatever. You're always going to have those elements, and without having the conversation in a realm and a place that it can take place to be shaped in an efficient manner, until this is at the status, and believe you me, it one day probably won't be at, the status where a conversation can be had. Yeah, sure, we'll pivot. We'll do a little more politicking if that's what the ones of you care for. But our politics are fairly straightforward, everything like that, and our 2 cents should hold no bearing over another individual's well-being. Like we said, to each his own. We are inherently libertarian in nature. We mean old school libertarian. All the new Libertarian Party, that shit sucks. We don't even want to be it sometimes, but we're not giving it up. Okay, we're not going to just register independent, okay? Because we're libertarian. There are a couple good ones out there, but the thing and the problem with that party is that everyone does whatever the fuck they want. And then there's a bunch of other people who joined it, and they're doing dumb shit. So, we don't politic with them. Anyhow, who's a good libertarian? Oh, man, all right, dude. There was this guy that lived in Arizona, okay, we think his name might be Adam Kokesh, don't quote us, and what sucks is, and if you're familiar with the individual, if that is the individual, we really loved his early iterations that he portrayed and put out there in the realm of libertarian philosophy and the entity and apparatus that it was. In some of his latter stuff up to, because I think he was running for a presidential nod in the Libertarian Party, if we recollect correctly, and this was back, it would be in Trump's, first term he was running for, 2016 and shit. So Adam Kokesh up to that point, if that's the individual, ex-Marine, fantastic dude, made some great content, had some very valid points and things of that nature, pursued what every libertarian such as ourselves could align with and correlate with, with his deductive reasoning on how to approach stuff. Now, like we said, things got a little skewed in the party. Stuff didn't go his way a little bit, man, and it got kind of a little wonky. We haven't kept up with him since then, But, it feels like he turned like a turning point, and like some juice and wind got let out of his sails. And, for us, his content just didn't resonate the same that it did at one point in time. Now, like we said, we could be completely wrong on the individual's name. We hope that we aren't, because, like we said, all of his earlier takes and aspects and iterations, they lined up and correlated with elements and aspects of the Libertarian Party that we loved. So, as far as a good libertarian, and fucking, man, Ron Paul, original before, man, Ron Paul and Rand Paul, okay? You argue whatever, about whatever. For them to ditch libertarianism and stuff just to, jump party affiliation, we get it. The same thing Trump did. Trump says he's not a Republican, but, inherently took over the party. Not the Republican Party no more. That's a fucking MAGA party. That's all those dudes do that, okay? We're sitting here, libertarians, like, man, what a show. What the hell? You guys keep passing the football back and forth, and you never let us try and get it. We're jumping for it. Libertarians. Y'all throw that shit too high. So, anyhow, we're here doing this. There we go. So you voted for Ross Perot. No, we didn't vote in that election. Yeah, no. So our first election that we voted in was shit. I think it was Bush. Perot ran against Bush Senior, right? That was back then. Bush and Dole. we didn't vote in that election. When was that one? That was 80. Yeah. Oh no, that was years. Yeah, we didn't vote in that one. It was maybe Obama's first presidential election we voted in. That might have been our first one. Yeah, I don't know. We graduated high school in like 01. So, there you go, back then. Anyhow, yeah, needless to say, we did not vote for Ross Perot, and we know that a lot of talk around Ross Perot were, the typical, disruption to the circumstances pertaining to it. Whenever a third party runs, whenever a libertarian runs, if they get in the realm or wheelhouse of pulling that 1 to 3% out of the vote, then it usually totally screws over one party or the other out of the two big uniparty, which is really one party, let's be honest. It screws with them. So, if a libertarian runs, pulls 3% of the vote, it's either going to come from the Democratic side or the Republican side. And it's going to vary and fluctuate depending on who the candidate is and where they align as far as their policies and things like that. And the Libertarian Party is so messed up with everyone doing whatever they want. It changes all the time. Yes, they have a freestanding platform with their stuff, but don't believe it. It's all crap. Blah! Joey probably wrote that shit that's up there nowadays, but who knows? Maybe not. Maybe it got better. We haven't checked recently because we're all busy doing whatever we want. This is kind of how the party works, I guess, for good or bad. But that's how it goes. No, it had to be late 90s, I thought. So, let's see. Late 90s. Yeah, we didn't graduate high school till 2001. So, yeah, if it was late 90s, you'd be hitting Bush Jr.'s terms and stuff like that in the late 90s, because you had Clinton too before him. Clinton was early 90s. So Bush Sr. was like 88, I think, was his last election when Perot probably ran. Unless Perot ran against Bush and Clinton, and we're just, not thinking about it. Or what? Dole and Bush, the first ones. Bush versus Clinton, right? I don't know. Yeah, we haven't politicked in a while and stuff as far as that. Yeah, but I don't believe it would have been the 90s. But, man, is it so much harder without a fact checker, like, stopping to check stuff. So, until then, we can't verify or, necessarily equate it to being. But it is what it is. So, we can talk movies, though, of that time. Like, how about movies My Fellow Americans? That one was some good, hard-hitting presidential stuff. Or how about Bulworth? You got some classic political movies that have been out there that have taken the stage and really, highlighted elements and aspects of politics that inherently probably work their way into them in some way, shape, or form. Even take a look at movies like Black Sheep, where, it's centered around, yes, the elements and aspects of a, kind of wonky brother that you kind of try and keep out of the way so he doesn't ruin things and such, but it's all based and centered around politics and, a whole campaigning aspect of it, and the tie-in is phenomenal. You take a look at old movies like Bulworth, things like that. I mean, just classic stuff. Now, we haven't seen it in a while. Maybe it doesn't stand up to the test of time, okay? But it's elements of movies. My Fellow Americans, okay? You got so much fantastic stuff that was out there. Look at even the old, Air Force One, Harrison of the Ford, stuff like that, man. There's some fantastic stuff, that's out there for sure. So, politics, not our bag, not what the channel is, but you ask, we give you a brief rundown. We tie it back into movies, and somehow it works out in the end. But what isn't working out is, I guess we're pretty much getting done with this for now, so we're going to call it. If you want to leave before us, now's your chance to get out of here. You're welcome to it. There's plenty of other, surely, better streams out there now to go catch. Someone pop that link in there so we can go watch that too and unwind from doing all of this. Well, hard work. Absolutely. What, one more poem about politics before we go? Oh, okay. Politics can be really good, but they fuck over all the people anyway. Anyhow, man, that was one of our favorite poems that we wrote a long time ago about how, you get these people in office to do things, and all of a sudden, they don't do it. They go against it. They end up being like, we said we were going to save that local youth center, but fuck those kids. I needed this bribe from Big Pharma. Now, we're not saying Big Pharma bribes government officials. No way. We have no proof of that. Even in all of those, donations and stuff like that we have not looked at or have seen, there's no way that, there's any lobbyists on behalf of Big Pharma that have any sway in any way, shape, or form with what people I elect into office, decide to, do that affects me in the realm of, well, I'll be damned, things that pertain to Big fucking Pharma. There you go. Doesn't matter. Ruined it, man. My bad. What? You didn't ruin nothing. No, you're good. Yep, we're just, we're at that point, man. It's gonna go. But I'll tell you what. We'll kick it for one more sec. One more sec. You give us a movie or something, you might be able to get us for a minute or two. Okay? Otherwise, we're gonna be dipset. So, you get us a good movie in there, a good politic you want us to comb over and gloss over without getting into the nitty-gritty details. Now's your chance. But no, you ruined nothing. You ruined it when we started the stream. Yes, we know. That's our job. To shake up the internet. Bring to all ones of the viewers that want to kick it and hang out a bunch of absolute whatever this ended up being. Did we talk about movies the entire time? Well, we said life's a movie, so yes. And Jokey comes through with Full Metal Jacket. Son of a bitch, we're not getting any sleep tonight. Full Metal Jacket's fantastic. Stanley Kubrick. All right, Full Metal Jacket. Well, Joker, don't tell us that that's your number one movie and use Jokey like Joker. Are you Joker Jokey? Were you in that movie? Are you the actor that was in that movie? That's a great movie. Full Metal Jacket is phenomenal. Man, what a must-watch for anyone that's in the mood to check out a good, decent military flick. From the interactions and events at boot camp that the movie is renowned for, to the elements and aspects, we don't even care Stanley Kubrick made it, okay? We've never necessarily followed this director's, entire career, any director's entire career for their movies. We like movies for the movies. we don't hold a director's bad movie against their works and stuff like that. Is, stuff like that. Just our personal opinion and preference. But Full Metal Jacket, we don't care. Stanley Kubrick made it. The movie was fantastic. The movie itself was just genuinely, from start to finish, a fantastic break into a military story. Okay? There's times that we want to watch an old Western with cowboys. There's a time we want to watch a modern futuristic movie with all sorts of advanced technologies that aren't in existence necessarily now. And there's times we want to watch a war movie. And if there's one that should be in everyone's repertoire of revisiting on occasion, Full Metal Jacket better be in that list. And it's probably not the only one. On occasion, we even have things call us back to it like Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, Tigerland, Hamburger Hill, old shit with John of the Wayne, like Green Berets, stuff like that. There are so many things. We Were Soldiers, Mel of the Gibson. Oh, fantastic military war movies that stand the test of time. You talk about Full Metal Jacket standing the test of time. The acting in it, phenomenal. The story, phenomenal. The timeline, absolutely perfect. You don't need to ruin it with elements that don't tie into modern times like cell phones and technology along those lines. Because it wasn't in existence, so it's not a problem that it wasn't there. Movies like Home Alone, you can't redo those nowadays because the technology that exists negates the entire happenstance of the movie. Full Metal Jacket better be in everyone's repertoire. We can't speak highly enough about it. We love that movie. We haven't seen it in a, good little minute. But, there's so many aspects of it that are very vivid in our mind to where, it's going to be put back on the list there eventually. We're not aching to see it again because it still feels that fresh. And that's a fresh-ass movie. So, everyone should watch it, unless you can't watch rated R movies. It's pretty violent, and there's some adult themes and material to it. So, be sure you have a parent or guardian there. So, anyhow, or you get permission. Sign a permission slip. Unless you're old enough. If you're an adult, the state says so, then you make your own choices, your own decision. No idea most Westerns started as samurai movies. Well, we had no idea about that either, but there were some definite elements that were samurai movies that had, the soldiering aspect to it, the old westerning aspect to it, and that initial kind of turn of different points in history to it. When the Civil War ended, okay, and life went on for the individuals that had gone through it, obviously, different individuals went and became affiliated in ways, shapes, and forms with other governments and other, entities and apparatuses that were military-based and esque. Okay, different armies that they would go and, definitely lend their expertise and their credit to. You look at movies like The Last Samurai with Tom of the Cruise, okay? Look at this, and we hope everyone's seen that as well. That's a phenomenal war movie, but it's a different historical piece war movie with elements of it turning into modern warfare. Okay, and that's a samurai flick for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, the movie's fantastic. Let's see. You do need a Joe Rogan. Yeah, absolutely. You need a Joe Rogan to have the conversations that need to be had with society. We're not the platform or place for that. Not now. Maybe not ever. Probably not ever. But we can have conversations about other stuff. And people can hang out and maybe even like some of it. Now, we're not saying they're going to like any of it, but there's an option. So there you go. Be cool to be able to bring stuff up from that chick quickly and everyone's on the same page. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if There, man. So the problem lies in the same thing with we watched someone's little tiki-taki, all right, and we didn't even watch it on tiki-taki. Don't worry. Someone's tiki-taki, man. They made a video. A lot of people saw it. Then they made another video follow-up saying like, "Hey, sorry, I can't respond to everyone. There's too many people that are throwing in their 2 cents, that are saying this, that, the other, that want to have their voice heard or their this, that, the other dealt with." Okay? When you have elements like Joe Rogan having hundreds of thousands, millions of people chiming in at the same time, it's hard for all those voices to be heard. That's where the whole upvote, downvote thing comes into play. That's why you see like the top comments that end up getting, hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of, the up thumb votes. And then other ones get not that many. The unfortunate thing is that because these conversations take place on such a grandiose scale and at such a time, there could be comments and statements made that might usurp entirely every element or aspect of the conversation that's been had on topic X, Y, or Z. It doesn't matter. But because those conversations came in later at a different point in time, they don't hold the water. People don't pay them the attention, and it doesn't sway the argument. So that's when you have to have those additional discussions and those additional, kind of avenues and venues for those things that get overlooked. Okay, for those elements and aspects of conversation on topics that needs to be addressed or should be addressed that might, like we said, just put it on its face and make everyone view it in an entirely different manner, means, or way of thinking. Entirely just how it goes. Why don't you have a partner? A friend could keep viewers higher too, but I know you're a solo act. Well, we got a couple ideas down the pipeline. Like we said, this is, right now there's no set scheduling or anything like that. We're hanging out, we're doing stuff, but the studio is under construction, and it has been for some time. It's actually coming along fairly okay. As soon as that is completed, then we might look at, where the shows and the channel goes from there. The medium that the channel is entertainment medium. Okay, now, entertainment is used very loosely. It might not be entertaining, but there might be an element or aspect on there that someone might be able to associate with, or maybe even, in a rare occasion, find some sort of sustenance in. Okay, even if it's just putting something on in the background while they're cooking or doing dishes. There's episodes on the channel, all right? Now, we got almost 4,000 videos, okay, on the channel. They stem from predominantly, mostly reviews on products and topics, things of that nature, okay? A lot of music talk. All the old stuff's horrible. Oh, we're not going to delete it because we don't believe in doing that. It's there, it stands, it's not good. Maybe it's progressed and gotten a little better, a little more tolerable. But the elements and the aspects that are there, the channel's always been about just delivering consistency. Not consistently good product, okay? Delivering consistency. From inception, okay, the channel has thrived itself on posting at least one iota of a video in one way, shape, or form virtually every day for almost a decade, okay, or 7 or 8 years, okay? Did we hit every single day? No. Did we take a weekend off here or there? Yes. Did we put up virtually, though, the entire year on a daily basis? Something. Anything at all. Whether it was good or not? Pretty much yes. So the channel's about consistency. Entertainment is used loosely because entertainment can be subjective. Same way that it was stated that you get more entertainment interacting with a live stream or event or endeavor like that, where you don't have to go blow money or spend money on going to watch a movie or dropping the new, gonna be current price, hopefully not, of games like Nintendo of the Switch 2 on 80, 90 bucks a go, you know, to play with Mario. There's elements and aspects, you know, of all of it that inherently you just gotta go with and such. And as the channel progresses, as it gets to where the shitty celebrity status takes hold, as you know, it pretty much has. Obviously, I mean, we're on the internet. That's, you know, it counts, kind of. When the realm of that comes to, you know, consistent fruition, when the studio's done, all right, and it's not done. Look, there's, you know, we got taping and mudding and painting and all our shit, you know. We got a bunch of shit. Well, okay. It's like, everyone wants to see our shark. Okay, no one wants to see this fucking shark, but if they did, then they'd be like, hey, show us that fucking shark again. Be like, oh, nice sharky. Oh, my hand, No, see, fuck that shark. No one wants to see that shark. But if the studio's done, if people are like, hey, you remember that shark bastard that's somewhere? You know, be like, oh, yeah, we sure do. It's somewhere around here. But right now, there's just, you know, work that needs to be done, and the consistency isn't there. So, you know, maybe someone show water. Oh, man, I don't even think that watermelon's in here right now. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of construction here. We can show you a painted rock. Here's a painted rock. It's blue and green. The green is like a color of watermelon, and the blue is like a color of water. So, water blue, melon green. I would say that counts as answering the chat question. So excellent. We did perfect because that's what celebrities do. Even shitty ones. You know, we do things pretty perfectly. You might say no elements of this is perfect in any way, shape, or form, but, you know, how else are we going to drive viewers here? You know, there's elements of, you know, shows in existence that just don't, you know, come to fruition. But if we were going to say, like, you know, we'll do anything we can to get viewers. Wacky waving inflatable flailing arm guy. Wacky waving inflatable flailing arm guy. How many channels have wacky waving inflatable flailing arm fucking guy, right? You know, I mean, we're not a good channel, but look, this is supposed to drive viewership. Companies buy this shit so people, like, stop at their business. Where's all our fucking viewers? This was like 12 bucks. I hope you stole that. Don't worry about it. The point is that, you know, yes, Joe Rogan's good. Yes, Asman of the Gold makes good commentary and decent content, but, you know, where's their wacky waving inflatable arm guys? Those rich bastards, they'd probably buy a fucking real one and make us look like shit again. That's why we're on the bottom level of shitty celebrity status. You know, it doesn't even stand totally properly. It works about as well as everything else here. Look, he's fucking in half. He's doing the fucking limbo. But, the limbo can be fun. Downtown at a skating rink for a birthday party? I don't know. Sounds like a good time. But the point is that While, yes, we have all the fun toys here, we have the hard-hitting facts and information that all nuns of people want. You know, the point is that stuff's still under construction, and we're gonna get to wherever we get to, whenever we get there. So, anyhow. Yeah, is that AI? Yeah, AI's gonna be fantastic. We did see the Fallout TV show as well. All right, so yeah, hopefully we didn't see the Fallout TV show. We did see the Fallout TV show. That is on Prime, correct? We believe? I don't know. It's on one of those. Probably Prime. Amazon of the Prime. There are elements and aspects of that show that we thought that they did fairly well, fairly good, and dare we say we were entertained enough to stick with it. Now, the happenstance, some of the story arcs, some of the storylines, some of the cinematography and jumping around in the editing, we did take issue with and did not enjoy as much. But, just like talking about Star Wars earlier and things of that nature, like Rogue One is in the, wheelhouse of being in the universe and having a decent storyline to it, okay? For us, you got elements of that are just inherently a good story around it in the universe, okay? They don't portray it and execute it properly, but Fallout inherently is a decent universe with which all sorts of stories and places can have stuff take place and, be in and things of that nature. So you have elements of it that, yes, should be avoided. Maybe some of the casting, maybe some of the story arcs and stuff and those little branching iterations and things are a little lackluster in their offerings. But it kept us entertained enough to stick with it and kind of finish it out. And that's worse. One that's way worse for us was completely, totally Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal was atrocious. We couldn't stand watching the entire first episode of that, let alone sticking with it and continuing out the series. Now, we really wanted to like it. There's elements that we thought were fairly decent and fairly good, but with Twisted Metal, they just didn't execute the story well enough for us to want to stick with it. The graphics, fine. The universe, okay. But they couldn't tie any aspect of it together to maintain our viewership. Same thing with a lot of the newer Star Wars shows that came out. We might have put on an episode or so, but they didn't do enough to keep us around as fans, to keep us engaged to want to even see any more of it. So there's elements of it that, we just don't want anything to do with. We don't want to go back and check out the rest of Twisted Metal because they already jacked up the first episode enough for us to where we don't want to devote the time to sticking around. So unless someone else sits down, watches that shit that we know of and trust enough, okay, sure, we got some movies and TV reviews out there. You find a content creator that's like-minded in some way, shape, or form, or at least has some of the same interests. All right, and then maybe if someone's like, hey, you really need to go back and watch Twisted Metal. It's a lot better than you thought it was. That first episode's dog shit, but after the next couple dog shit episodes, it gets okay. If someone tells us that we inherently believe and trust, maybe we'll go back and watch it. But until then, at least for us, and we're not defending Fallout, the TV series, at all, but at least for us, we were entertained enough to stick with it. Rings of Power. We stuck with the first season. We watched part of the first episode of the second season. Okay? We didn't like our time with the first season inherently. Only about one of the little branching story ones. Stream is AI. This stream absolutely is AI. You know, or at least if it... Shit. Hold on, no. AI makes good stuff. There's no way this stream's AI. Unless life's AI. In which case, yep, absolutely is. Simulation theory. People give it a 50-50 chance of being right. So, you know, if it is right, then absolutely simulated is all AI. There you go. Pretty cool, though, huh? But you can form and manipulate stuff in your relevant environment. Like, we want to squish this. Look, we can. We want to call the management booth and ask them if we can end the stream yet. Hey, can we end this fucking stream yet? What do you mean they're still around? Well, okay, we'll kick it for a little more then. But I'm telling you, management, this shit better pay off in the long run. Okay. Anyhow, they still pretend like they know how to run the place. There are elements and aspects of, you know, movies and shows that can resonate with certain individuals and not with others. So, for Fallout, like we said, we don't defend it, and we understand no one wanted to watch the rest of it. Same way, no one should really defend Twisted Metal and expect us to continue watching it when, you know, this is what it is. What's the meaning of the tattoos? Well, let's get back to that one in a sec. Is MS-13 on your fist? No, we don't have no tattoos on the fist, or nothing like that. No MS-13. Like we said earlier, someone had asked us what gang we're in. We're not in a gang. We would be in the Buttercream Gang and pick up litter. Buttercream Gang's a movie. Go, everyone should watch it. The world would be a better place. Sure, everyone would probably be pissed off and hate their lives for having sat through it, but it's the message that resonates that would make the world a better place. So there you go. Or not, I don't know. But yeah, no, we're not in a gang, you know, so we're just in the realm of, you know, being a celebrity and all. But the meaning of the tattoos. Well, we have a lot of tattoos, and they mean that we spent our entire paychecks on getting them. They all have random meanings and stuff like that. You know, I mean, that's, you know, like, there's a musician, Frank Turner. He's phenomenal. We loved the artwork on one of his albums so much, we were like, you know, we should put that shit on us. So we did, obviously, because Frank Turner's music hits us that well. We really enjoy it. An acoustic punk rock singer from England. Dude's rad. So, you know, he's got his guitar with little sparrows pulling the strings. You know, it's fantastic. We really enjoy the artwork that was on there, and we enjoy looking at it when we see it. As it fades in the sun, as our boomer ass gets older and fatter and grayer and balder and all the lifer, okay? As the AI takes its toll on us. You know, we enjoy looking down on it and reminiscing of how awesome Frank Turner is. And then, you know, maybe check out some more of his songs and albums and stuff and be like, oh yeah, dude's rad. We loves his music. So, many a tattoo, many a meeting. We got Social Distortion there on the back. Mommy's Little Monster. That's us. No, it's not. That's the skeleton that they have. But whatever. Mommy's Little Monster. This is their ordeal. They're rad. You know, it's stuff that resonated with us, okay? Huge Social Distortion fans. You know, massively influenced our listening habits because for certain periods and times, these bands occupied them in their entirety. So, when we listen to Social Distortion and songs resonate with us, hit home for us, and start really bringing everything together for our lives, or wherever we're at that point in time, then it's just fantastic to be able to have that immortalized on us as it such is. We enjoy the tunes. We enjoy the elements and aspects of what it brought to our lives when it brought it to our lives. We might not throw them on as much nowadays. We still love those dudes. We still listen to them, definitely. And they still hold a place in our hearts, in our minds, and in our lives. That sounded poetic. Yeah, it really did. Excellent. We did good. Punk rock review. Okay, so we're not punk rock review. No. See, and that's where stuff gets a little wonky, okay? We are punk rock review, but we spell rock the way Billy Madison spelled it, okay? The C is silent. There's actually another channel, Punk Rock Review, spelled the way R-O-C-K, all right? And that was an option for us when we started our channel, but we purposely did not want it, and we purposely wanted the more comedic element and aspect of a movie tie-in like Billy Madison, okay, with Adam Sandler in his prime, all right, for the channel itself. So our Punk Rock Review is the P-U-N-K-R-O-K review. The other Punk Rock Review, we've interacted with them once or twice. They're a fantastic individual. They make awesome content. They live of the stream as well. From what we understand, they are definitely more on the business side of what punk rock reviewing can be. I.e., they bring you the stuff in the industry that is more pertinent or matters, okay? Such as hard-hitting information and facts about X, Y, or Z. Whilst we might know a few bands and might bring you a couple hard-hitting informations and facts and things of that nature, we don't sit down and set up interviews with artists and things of that nature and deliver them to our viewership. It would be great if we did. You all would probably love it, but no. There are people that do it better, and Punk Rock Review, R-O-C-K Review, they do it far better than us. They're extremely good at what they do, and we enjoy watching their content when the occasion arises that we do watch it. Definitely some great takes and inherently a great guy. Surely we'd be buddies if we were in the same town. We might even start a band or something. You never know. Of course, if he's seen any of our shit, he'd be like, oh, fuck that. No way, dude. And we'd be like, oh, come on, please. He'd be like, no. Be like, oh, okay. Fair enough. And then, we'd go solo. This is what we do. But Punk Rock Review is, definitely a separate channel. Very, very close, as they're both Punk Rock Review. But we're a little more silent. Or okay. Excellent. 2 p.m. in Dagestan, Russia. Well, excellent. It sounds like they should be... All right, I don't think that's true. Are you sure it's 2 p.m. there? It sounds like it should be like 2:01. Maybe 1:59, but 2 exactly? If you say so. We're not going to check, but okay. Well, if any nuns of people are watching from Russia, that's awesome. We used to work with some folks from your country. They were great individuals. This is back in the day when we were a government contractor. And we got to interact with quite a few individuals from quite a few different places. And we worked with some Russian individuals, and they were awesome dudes. So, that's that. I mean, we weren't on a first-name basis or anything, and we were just a young, fresh out of high school staff kid. No one cared that we were there. But, it was rad. They were all right dudes. So, if any of them are not watching this from, Russia at 2 p.m., then, whatever. But if they are, hello and hi. Fantastic. We'll count that as being answered incorrect. So, excellent. Just letting... excellent. Well, if there's one thing that we think everyone should pay, it's probably... Well, we're not going to finish that sentence, because, everyone determined to pay their own stuff, But, yeah, the IRS wants their taxes. I'll be damned if we shouldn't give it to them. I just hope that they find other ways that we can give them money as well. By, taxing everything we buy, or taxing our paychecks, or taxing gifts that we receive, or taxing earnings on winnings, or taxing, someone for wanting to go fishing or hunting, or, taxing someone for owning a boat or something that would be deemed a, leisure luxury item. As long as there's elements for taxes to be, taken from the people and given to entities that are voted into office to do certain things, and then, of course, they don't do them because, fuck it, you're already in. Then that's just what needs to happen. Taxes just need to get paid. Who has a criminal record? Well, criminals do, of course. Thoughts on street thugs? Well, we heard that the game, what is it? Fatal Fury? Final Fury? Something Fury, probably. They did an AI mock-up of all of the street thugs in that game and the protagonists as well that you are in the game. AI did a mock-up of it, and man, fantastic. What an awesome interpretation of it. So if we're talking about those street thugs, the AI iteration and version from Final Fight or Final Fury or Fatal Fury, Fatal Fight, I don't know, whatever the game is. We used to play it in arcades all the time. We don't remember. We're too boomer. Too boomer now. Been going for 2 hours now. There's only so much that we can be expected to keep up with without our Tim of the Pool, Joe of the Rogan fact check helpers to keep us on point. So we're not going to be able to remember every iota or detail this far into the stream. Yes, we know a lot, of stuff, probably, depending on what stuff is and what a lot could be. But don't worry about it. So, sure, you love Final Fantasy. Well, Final Fantasy is a different beast for us. You might think we love Final Fantasy, but no. We like Final Fantasy okay. We have never fully completed one Final Fantasy game in its entirety. Up to and including the remastered remake that we recently got in the last probably like 6 months to a year. It was on a super deep sale discount. All right, we ended up picking it up on PS5, and we played the first good bit of it and stuff, and we've gone through, and they've done a remarkable, fantastic job with it. And if there is one game that we will get through Final Fantasy wise, it might very well be that remake of 7. But the first one that came out, because obviously they broke 7 up into the iterations, whatever. But with us having never gone through any, but having played a large variety of them, down to like the old school ones on NES and such, the Final Fantasy 2, 3, stuff like that, other iterations and takes, we never completely played through a single one. And we always liked our time with them, even when we dabbled with Final Fantasy 15. Again, never beat it in its entirety. But the minigame aspects that they added to that, the graphics, like a lot of it was an enjoyable experience. A lot of great stuff there. And Square Enix, right? They do that one. Maybe not now. I don't know. Whoever. Where's our fact checker? The entities involved in it and stuff like that, graphically and, visually, they have created some phenomenal pieces. And 16 just came out, if we're not mistaken, and or if it isn't out already, which we think it is, then it is very around the corner, and or should be at that cornering point where it is out and stuff like that. But we like Final Fantasy enough. We aren't massive Final Fantasy fans. We don't have a Final Fantasy tattoo, but we do have a Social Distortion tattoo. If we could pick talking with Mike Ness of Social Distortion or a developer from Final Fantasy, we'd probably want to kick it with Mike Ness a little more. But, preference, That's just how it goes. Anyhow, Well, surely no one wants to talk to us anymore, right? You have any game cabinets? Define game cabinets. Are you talking about like the one-up arcade cabinets? Man. So, no. But holy shit, if the studio were done and you asked us this, and we'll just tell you, and it would be way better if we did. It's not here presently right now, but we have one of those little mini arcade things, man. It's a game cabinet. It's like this fucking big with like the games on it. Joystick and everything works and stuff, man. Fantastic. What a great and fun play to dink around with. It's not here. We would have pulled that shit out and it would have been perfect, man. You would have been like, holy shit. Not only does this asshole have a wacky, waving, inflatable, flailing arm guy to garner viewership and subscripifications, but this asshole has some little arcade fucking cabinet that he pulled out of random Timbuktu, just like that damn shark, you know, and it just hit home. But no, alas, the studio isn't done yet. The helping hands haven't been helping as much as they should have been. Bob lost his, so it's like, fuck. Now we gotta pull his share of the weight as well. That's just how it goes. So, to reference for you, not deep into rock music. Yeah, hey, no, that's rad. So they're a punk band. They don't even, yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, rock music, pop music, rap music, heavy metal music. Is there any music that you are into? If there is, you need these Home Depot. Yeah. Well, fuck. We need to get them back. Absolutely. Hey, we need a studio fixed on the fly. Or, man, we hear the Amish are really good at throwing stuff together, too. We've seen some videos of people hiring them to make decks and barns and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, they would have banged this out for us. Probably made it way better, too. Saved us some time. But that's just how it goes. But, you know, yeah. Oh well. But, yes, no, it would be fantastic if, you know, they were into. But, yeah, if you're into any other kind of music, we have such a diverse array and selection of music, and we open-heartedly listen to music with which to do reviews on random stuff. There are bands and elements of bands and aspects of musical acts that you would probably never in 1,000 years think that we would talk about. But I believe it was just within this last week or so, we were talking about Selena of the Gomez. And you might be saying, why? Well, she made Oreo cookies. See, that's what this channel exists for. You might not like Selena Gomez. You might not like Oreo cookies. But what kind of a world would it be if not one creator or entity made some content or a video on the fact or the aspect that Selena Gomez got her Oreo cookie-fication on, and we dove into Selena's box time and time again. We were so far up Selena's box, it was at least a 10 or 11 minute video that we dropped on it. So, you know, for everyone who doesn't like Selena Gomez, that's besides the point. You don't have to like Selena Gomez to eat out her box, okay? You open it, you pull the Oreo pack out, and it's there, okay? Hold on, don't go anywhere, or do. You're probably better off. Hold on, or stay there. Here, look, we're still here. We're not totally leaving. There's still voice and everything. We're not lying. Selena Gomez, we're eating the hell out of this box. Had regular double stuff Oreos too, which aren't regular. They're double stuff. And I know it's reversing backwards, but, you know, that's how it goes. So, yes, you know, other channels, content creators, things like that might very well be like, we're not covering Selena Gomez and her Oreo cookie Nabisco team-up power-up. Yeah, but you know what those entities can't tell you then? What those cookies taste like? You want to know what? You want to know what it tastes like to eat out of Selena Gomez's box? You came to the right place. We've done it. It's a very mild, creamy cinnamon flavor. In the Oreo, inherently, you would think that it wouldn't be good, but it is. Same way with her music. You might not think it's good. And subjectively, you might be right. But she's probably won awards and definitely sold albums. So, you know, there you go. Disturbing. I wouldn't go near her box. Yeah, excellent. Well, I don't know. But if you don't go near her box, you're never going to taste that cinnamony, creamy goodness. You might be saying, yeah, it'll save me a trip to where I don't want to go. And we understand that, sure. But see, that's why people need us. They need channels like this. They need shitty celebrities to dive into that box for you. We understand you don't want to dive into that box. You don't know where it's been. You don't even know how we've treated it. Fuck, Justin Bieber could have eaten out that box. We don't know if he did. Hey, maybe he shopped Sam's Club too, and he opened it and resealed it, and then we got it. The point is that entities like us, we do it so you don't have to. Okay? Sure. Your Asmon of the Gold, he might eat a Oreo. He might have thousands of wrappers laying around. Okay? Here's some, here's some, here's some. Okay? But for all those who don't check that content or catch that episode of his, at least in some iota, way, shape, or form, if you search, I want to eat out Selena Gomez's box, maybe our fucking face will pop up. I don't know. And that's probably not even how you should phrase any of that. In fact, in hindsight, there's a lot of ambiguity that could be construed throughout every statement that we made, and we apologize for that. Whether it was intentional or not, okay, or whether it was a play on something that was ambiguous in meaning in one way, shape, or form, don't worry about it. The point is that we're sorry, and like we said, next live stream we'll apologize for this one. So, but Selena, we're sorry now. Just because other people don't want to eat out of your box doesn't mean it's as bad as they say it is. We happen to like the cookies that you and Oreo put out. So, you know, there you go. Anyhow, this went off the rails. Oh, this went off the rails a long time ago. It went off the rails the minute we started. We've already done poems on bananas and talked about bodily extremities. On top of that, we almost left like an hour ago. You're like, no. Suck on the internet some more. It's like, well, okay. You want, we give. It's like, not only did it go off the rails, it was never on the rails. We haven't built the studio yet. We sure as hell haven't built the track for it to drive on. So, totally off the rails, but sometimes that's what the internet needs. If every show were on the rails, they'd all be good. So you need those bad ones out there to set that ground floor level of shitpextation. Okay? There's gonna be shitty content out there. You might as well put some parameters and some controls on how shitty it's allowed to be. Like we said, dibs on the ground floor, bare minimum, basic level. Dibs. Shitty celebrity, us. You know, that's just how it goes. The good stuff's out there. Is that Selena's hand? No, that's not Selena's hand. That is Bob's hand. He lost it while we were doing the studio construction. Have you been paying attention to anything this whole stream? It's pretty much you've been running the show, you know. It's a lot better than anything we could have come up with, so we do appreciate that. But, no, that's Bob's hand. Yeah, now we gotta pull his share of the work, too, in getting this shit done. Like you said, everyone that was gonna help us, someone packed them up and carted them off. So now we need to go find some Amish people or become them ourselves. But, anyhow, that is gonna do it for us. So, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for having a time with us, whether it was good for you or not. We know it was great, so you might be saying, no, it wasn't, but if you think about it, it was. You might be saying, stop changing my feelings and my thoughts and my views and opinions, but if we didn't do that for you, then you would forget how great of a time you had. You might be saying, like, you talked of nothing of relevance, sustenance, or anything like that. And it's like, didn't we, though? Didn't we? You saying Selena Gomez isn't relevant? Talking about her box doesn't set the internet on fire with the conversations that need to be had? You're right. That's all on Rogan's and Aspen Gold's channels and Tim of the Pools. So surely they're going to be streaming soon. So we don't need your subscription. We want your money. So download the shit out of this and give us a buck. Get off our lawn.